But what about infinite regression? That is a problem everyone talks about in philosophy, theology, and so on. But is it really a problem? I mean, infinite regression, it actually seems natural. Because if God is infinite, then you have a series of infinite regression. So the possibility is, of course, since God is infinite, what I call unbounded four-dimensional infinity. That opens up for infinite, an infinite amount of universes. And the totality of this is the ultimate multiverse, as Brian Greene, physicist, talks about. So there isn't a contradiction between God and an eternal multiverse, because God is the ultimate multiverse. And you could ask yourself what was before the Big Bang, before that, and so on throughout infinity, and you will never get a stop point. But that doesn't matter really. What matters is the ontological conclusion here, that something must come from something. That is the basic logical assumption here. And if something comes from something rather than nothing, everything must be something physical. Hence, God himself must be physical. A physical infinity. Physical eternity. And since God just is, he's just being there all the time and will always be there and has always been there as the ultimate multiverse. God is an absolute infinity. But since you have an infinite regression, a series of infinite regression, this leads us to infinite motion. So you get a series of infinite motion. So nothing is completed as a whole. the whole is more relative. But since God just is, He is absolute, but His absoluteness is relativity. I think that sums up what I have to say right now. You know, atheists, they just say, like, there isn't a need for God. Since you could speak of an eternal multiverse. But I think that is pretty childish and stupid because through philosophical logics, you get, you have to ask yourself, well, something that just is, it exists, it has always existed and will always exist as a soup of an infinite amount of universes, the ultimate multiverse. Then that must be God, because that is what the concept of God has in it. So I think atheism is basically, it's logically wrong. because because you don't acknowledge the fact that the concept of God is something infinite, an infinite beingness that just is. But then again, pantheism and atheism has some, they have something in common, and that is the belief that nature is everything. Because an eternal ultimate multiverse is nature, it's infinite nature. So it's and that is nature stretching beyond our universe. And this, of course, leads us to the fact that God is transcendent, because God transcends our universe by being an infinite series of universes. But then again, the totality of the multiverse, that reality is immanent. There is nothing outside it, so nothing transcends the ultimate multiverse. Hence, this ultimate multiverse must be God as a totality, as an absolute infinity. And I just don't understand why atheists say that pantheism is atheism, because pantheism is not atheism. Atheism is not having a theos, a god, to relate to. It's without God. And pantheism is that everything is God. So I think that pantheism is not atheism, because pantheism has a God that you can relate to. You can relate to God philosophically. There is no classical prayer or way to communicate with God. With prayer is more like a set of emotions, an inner set of emotions. You feel like you're part of the all. You're part of God. You have you feel grateful that God has produced you. And of course, atheism, it is it just don't it doesn't finalize and complete a whole metaphysical system. Because they don't use theology's concept of God. I mean, the philosophical word God, to describe an infinite nature. And I think that is pretty dumb. And you can't say that a pantheist is an atheist. It just sounds very stupid. Well, I guess that's about it.